Because I've talked to a lot of gay and lesbian friends who have said, like, I don't totally get why the T is at the end of LGBT, and the Q and all. Like, the interests aren't necessarily aligned.
Oof. Okay, so this isn't a debate. This is like just conservative culture war 101. This is something that's been brewing and has been kind of scary. They're trying to drive a wedge similar to how you have hate groups in the UK right now, who are basically like, we're the LGB alliance. We do not include the T because at the end of the day, we want to be bigots towards one specific group still. And they're trying to, I guess, enact a similar thing in the US where less solidarity and more, let's just break up the letters of the rainbow and so that we can actually create divisions amongst them and have them not unite in trying to pass legislation. I'm now going to turn to something even more horrible, and that's the debate that apparently took place between Steven Crowder and Megyn Kelly. Yeah, that's the Megyn. Crowder versus Kelly. I haven't seen this, so don't spoil it for me, okay? I'm excited.
Steven Crowder, you remember Megyn Kelly? She was on Fox, and then she got hired by
right? The
NBC.
Moderate, right?
The Moderate, yeah.
Yeah.
She got hired by NBC. I think she was
Sorry.
Wasn't she on MSNBC too at one point, or I don't know? She was on NBC, maybe.
Yeah, there was some weird pivot.
She tried. Oh, I love this. She tried to be a daytime talk show host.
Oh yeah.
And she tried to exude warmth.
Right. Then she tried to do mornings, yeah, something like that. Do some
That's what
like
in the mornings. You're supposed to be peppy and fun and relatable.
And now she's just kind of forgotten, right?
I gotta be honest, that would be horrifying. Megyn Kelly in the morning, where she's like, why can't anyone wear blackface anymore? And it turns out crime is at an all-time high. And did you know that black on black crime is some of the worst murders known to men? At 6 in the morning. Wake up, get that coffee out. Time for some fear-mongering.
Well,
forget about that. And here she is on the Megyn Kelly show on Sirius XM, where she talks to luminaries and other such figures. Here she is talking to Cold Feet Steven Crowder.
Right now, we're looking at children on puberty blockers, right? We're looking at men beating the hell out of women.
The fuck is going on with your face? What is this? I mean, you know what? I'm one to talk because that's the extent of facial hair that I'm capable of producing. I can't really grow like big beards, but goddamn, Steven Crowder, this looks horrible. This looks absolutely horrendous. Anyways, sorry.
In biological men beating the hell out of women in their own sports. What is next? And I think that's a very important question.
I love it because he's always trying to achieve what he thinks is like a manly look. Like, what'll make me more manly? Well, obviously having a gun holster. I mean, like, real men have gun holsters all the time, 24/7. They're just constantly in a state of, should I kill somebody? So I should put that like on the side of my chest. Okay, that one's good. And now, whatever this is, I'm assuming this is Biker 101 for Steven Crowder.
Question. It's not a logical fallacy to say a slippery slope. We are on a slope, period. If the left has their way on this,
I think it's a fascinating question.
Where do we go?
Because I've talked to a lot of gay and lesbian friends who have said, like, I don't totally get why the T is at the end of LGBT, and the Q and all. Like, the interests aren't necessarily aligned.
Oof. Okay, so this isn't a debate. This is like just conservative culture war 101. This is something that's been brewing and has been kind of scary. They're trying to drive a wedge similar to how you have hate groups in the UK right now, who are basically like, we're the LGB alliance. We do not include the T because at the end of the day, we want to be bigots towards one specific group still. And they're trying to, I guess, enact a similar thing in the US where less solidarity and more, let's just break up the letters of the rainbow and so that we can actually create divisions amongst them and have them not unite in trying to pass legislation.
And in fact, if you look at like the trans activists, like the crazy trans, and not like normal, like whatever, but the crazy trans activists are so vicious, and they're basically kind of doing conversion therapy on young gay men. Instead of, you're not gay, you're trans, you're secretly a girl.
Not true. Made up. This is 100% citation needed. Yeah, this is not a thing. I mean, you might get this from the turfy side, who will state that, like, this is driven a wedge. Ariella Scarella is a good example of that, where she's like, I used to be, I guess, a lefty because I was a lesbian, but then they started telling me that as a lesbian, I would have to start having sex with women with penises, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So then I completely realized that this was not for me, and now I'm going to be part of this entire empire of bigotry and all the profitability that comes with it.
It's better to be trans than to be
Yeah,
queer.
it's
than to
repackaged gay panic
Just
and trans
say
panic.
that you're a girl, and then you can get rid of that whole gay thing. And we're seeing more and more of this. Abigail Schreier writes about it in her book. I've had lots of people on the show talking about it. So there is a question about whether the interests of the gay community are aligned in the way that GLAAD would have us believe, and whether GLAAD's lost the real scope of its original mission.
Oh, well, luckily we have Megyn Kelly to tell us what GLAAD's mission should
Who
be.
better than Megyn Kelly and Steven Crowder?
Yes, Steven Crowder, who is well known for protecting the interests of the gay community.
Very similar, by the way, to the way that TERFs are now trying to say that they stand up for the rights of women. Especially you'll have people who were never into things like feminism, such as Sargon of Akkad, for example. He's someone who all the time was consistently shitting on third wave feminism. It was his bread and butter for a long time. Look at these SJW cringe compilations, all this kind of stuff. And now suddenly they're all acting like, well, we're actually standing up for the rights of women. True women. Yes, the only real women as we see fit. Yes, so now I am actually a feminist, a real feminist, unlike all of you.
I mean, it's fascinating that the idea of trans athletes. What did they find in Kansas? That there was one 12-year-old.
There was one, or at least maybe we're mixing things up, but in Utah, the reason that the governor vetoed that bill, but then they overrode his veto, was because there were 4 trans athletes in the whole state and only 1 trans girl competing. 1.
Yes, and I think it was in Kansas that they found there was just one 12-year-old, trans athlete. I mean, it is amazing how it is completely. They have been able to make it the only thing that matters in their world, regardless. And also to talk about the slippery slope, like what's the next step in this slippery slope aside from like the idea that there is some type of industry that is converting gay people into trans people, which is absurd. But I'm curious as to what is the slippery slope that people are concerned about? That
men and women will no longer mean anything, that there's the feminization of men, and that it's going to affect our national security, because look at China. I mean, that's what Tucker Carlson's been on about. But like, I don't want to let her off the hook, even not saying that you are, but I just want to hammer home how crazy what she just said was. She said that gay people are presiding over conversion therapy. Like what
trans people
Christians
are.
No, trans people for gay people, trying to rope them into their lifestyle. I mean, that is the panic that they try to imbue in all of this, is that your kids.
Well, I mean, we're talking about 2 of the most powerful organizations in the entire world, trans ideology and gay ideology. And, they have a lot of influence in all levers of power. So basically, they're at odds with one another, it would seem, if I understand Megyn Kelly correctly here.
It's going to be like them too, because they're recruiting. You have a gay kid, you might be more accepting of that kid than you were 20 years ago or 10 years ago when I was on Fox News and saying why that was wrong. And now I've decided I have gay friends who are undoubtedly TERFs who hate trans people and think J.K. Rowling's writings about this make a ton of sense. Like, that gives me credibility in this space. That is bonkers. That is nuts. And that is just, not anything close to what's happening. But
And to think, this is the woman that we relied on for all of the insight into the fact that Santa Claus was white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I'm curious about, like her mythological creature analysis is, what does she mean when she says, not like those normal trans people, but the super vicious trans activists? Like there's a bunch of suicides of people being bullied by trans activists. It's not a real thing at all. It reminds me of like super predators or something like that. You're trying to create this image in people's head that, oh yeah, people just won't let me be a man because you got gangs of trans people trying to get you on the road to transition. It's ridiculous.
It's also hilarious, the idea that anyone associated with the conservative movement in this country would try and project that they are in some way on a mission, even as twisted as the way that she's laying it out, in protecting gay rights and gay lifestyle.
Yeah.
I saw this tweet. I for the life of me, I can't find out who tweeted it, but It was a speech that George P. Bush gave. This is Jeb's son. This is the one who threw his dad under the bus to appease Donald Trump, and is now polling it around, still like around, I don't know, 8% in this Texas AG race. But he had this to say, which is fascinating. A state like Texas has the right to protect itself. So whether it's the issue of life, whether it's the issue of marriage, Texans should decide its own future. I know what he's talking about when he talks about the issue of life. That is, we should be able to kill whoever we want. The state should be able to kill whoever we want. And we should also be able to imprison women or doctors who attempt to maintain autonomy over their own bodies. But what's he talking about with marriage? He is talking about, and this is where they're going next. He's talking about states having the right to deny gay people the right to marry.
Yep.
That's, do not kid yourselves, folks. This is on the docket. This is definitely on the docket.
They see, and Megyn Kelly is aiding by dividing the trans community from the larger LGBTQ community there, because
yeah, and it's like it's a scary wedge to see trying to be implemented, because like I said, you've got that in the UK pretty strongly. At the end of the day, I mean, the one piece of good news is that I don't think anyone who's legitimately into activism for the LGBTQ plus cares what Megyn Kelly or Steven Crowder says at any given time. That would be like the best takeaway from the entire situation.
Do you enjoy the surfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Surf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Egbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.